zooming out, how far did you get with your education?
Okay, so I graduated high school 2015, and then from there I went to college. Should I include like where I went to college or?
Up to you.
Okay, so yeah, then I went to college. I went to Centenary University. I studied there 4 years. I have my bachelor's of science in business, concentration in digital marketing. So yeah, 4 years of college, undergraduate degree.
Now, you mentioned this in a previous portion of questions, but just for this portion, care to share where you were born and you were raised?
I was born in Newark, New Jersey, and I was raised East Orange, New Jersey, Montclair, New Jersey.
And does it get any more specific than that in regards to those areas? Like a particular part of either of those areas?
No.
And what were the age ranges there for you?
Like where I was born and then where I was raised?
Yes.
Okay, so I was born in Newark, New Jersey, and then I moved to East Orange, New Jersey when I was about 8 or 9 years old. I remember that. And then everything else is kind of like a blur, to be quite honest.
Do you know the reason for the move from Newark to East Orange and then
Well,
Montclair, I believe you said?
my dad started making more money, so basically we moved.
And care to share where you reside these days?
Right now I'm living in Florida, Fort Lauderdale, Florida.
And what was the reason for that move?
I mean, I'm born and raised in New Jersey, and I was like, I want to try something different, and I wanted to get more into a different side of modeling. So I was like, let me check out Florida and see what that's like, and that's how I ended up there.
Care to share what age that was when you made that decision to move to Fort Lauderdale?
It's 24.
And care to share your current age at this point?
I'm old. I'm an old lady now.
Care to share your birthday, the month and the day perhaps?
July 1st. That makes me a Cancer, if anybody's into that.
So just for zooming out here on a macro level, what age was it when you officially left New Jersey?
I was 24 when I officially left New Jersey. Wait, yeah, was I? Yeah, I was 24.
Okay, and that was straight to Fort Lauderdale.
Straight to Fort Lauderdale.
Now for you, what was that really like growing up in New Jersey?
Oh my God, it was a lot that happened. I don't even know where to start. Where do I start with this?
Whatever you care to share with the audience.
Growing up in New Jersey, it's a long story. So I was raised by both my mom and my dad. They were married. I lived in a house with a bunch of my siblings. I'm the last born out of six. Trying to think. I wasn't raised in the best area. When I first grew up, I was kind of raised in like the hood area. So I grew up in that for a little bit, and then I moved to a better area. I went to high school. Well, no, I went to middle school, and I actually ended up getting expelled. I got expelled in middle school. Um, I feel like this is so long ago, it's kind of hard to remember. But I got expelled. I used to fight a lot when I was in middle school. Um, yeah. So that happened. And then when I was 13, my mom passed away. She had lung cancer. Um, Trying to think what else. Yeah, I think that was part of the reason why I got expelled. I was just going through a lot. When I was in middle school, I was going through a lot. But so after I got expelled, I ended up going to an alternative school, and I stayed there for a year and a couple of months. And there, I knew I didn't really belong there. So I did whatever I had to do to get out. So I stayed there for a year, and then I went back to regular middle school, and I ended up being a really good student. I became like an honor roll student and all of this stuff. So yeah, and then I graduated, and then I went to a magnet school in East Orange called STEM Academy. And I was an honor roll student there for 4 years. Yeah, is that how long you stay there? Yeah, 4 years. So I did that. Some AP classes, AP chemistry, physics, mathematics. Yeah.
Okay, so I want to break down some of the elements you mentioned here. You
Sure.
mentioned you're the youngest of six, and is that same mother and father for all those siblings?
No. So my mother got married 3 different times. Trying to think. So okay. So my first sibling, we all have a different mother and father than my first sibling. And then my other 2 siblings, they have the same dad. And then me and my sister, we have the same dad. And then my father had a son before he met my mother.
You mentioned an expulsion in middle school. Care to share the name of that middle school you attended back in those days?
The hell is the name of that school? I think it's Sojourner Truth. That's in East Orange. I think it's Sojourner Truth Middle School.
And
But
what
I could be completely wrong because I can barely remember that.
and what about the alternative school name as well?
Glenwood Campus.
Now, that transition from fighting and expulsion and alternative school to turning things around sounds like completely 360 to honor roll and AP description.
Yeah.
Was that your own doing? Were you pushed for the change or self-made decision?
So I
Was
think
better
it has a
phrase
lot.
there.
It has to do with 2 things. So it was kind of pushed, and then it was obviously me knowing better than when I went to alternative school, I realized that I didn't really fit in with the people who were there. I knew that they weren't the best kind of people, and I'm like, this isn't really what I want to do. I'm not headed this way. I knew that I had other things that I wanted to do. What I really felt like the problem was is like I'm just very headstrong and like very self-assured, and I've always been that way from a very young age, and I feel like people didn't really like that. Like I always had an opinion and I always felt like I had something to say. So that turned a lot of adults off from me. They're like, oh, who does this bitch think she is? And blah, blah, blah. So that was really what got me expelled in the first place. But when I went to alternative school and I saw how some of these other kids were, I'm like, I don't want to be anything like these people. So I took note of that and I was like, this isn't the life that I want to go to. And then my principal too, before I got expelled. His name is Mr. Stallings. I got really close to him, and he was kind of like he was kind of like a mentor to me too. I really appreciate him for that. He helped with me becoming a better person.
That self-assurance characteristic, were you born with that, or that's something that you grew into at that young age?
Self-assuredness?
Yes.
I think I was born with that. Yeah.
Do you think you hold that characteristic the most out of all the members of your family? Or is there a member of your family
Yes.
that has even more self-assurance than you do?
I think my brother had it a lot too. But me, definitely. Self-assured, yeah.
Now, was going to ask you here what the bottom point for you was during your upbringing, and you may have mentioned it with the passing of your mother. And if that wasn't the case, what was the bottom point for you during that upbringing of yours?
The bottom point.
Yes, your lowest point or most negative moment for you growing up in New Jersey.
Like as a teenager, right?
Could be any age during your upbringing in New Jersey,
Honestly,
up to even 24, before that move to Fort Lauderdale.
trying to think. The roughest part? Honestly, I think when my brother passed away, that was really rough for me. That was like a really devastating point in my life because I love my brother so much. I really looked up to him and he was like my protector in a way. So that really hurt me when he passed away.
What age was this in your life when that took place?
2017, 18, 19, 20, 21, 22, 23. So when I was 20 years old, going on 21.
And was this the brother that you were referencing that had more self-assurance than you?
Yeah.
Now, what was he really like?
Oh, he was the greatest. He was a great guy. In my opinion, I think he was pretty cool. He's very funny. He was a father. He had 2 children. He also was like in the entertainment business. He did music. He used to rap. But he was very funny. He was very family oriented.
Care to share his stage name?
Gully.
Now, do you remember the last correspondence you had with him before he passed?
Yes, we were at Thanksgiving at my sister's house in Newark, New Jersey. That was the last time I saw him.
And how were you notified he had passed?
I was in LA and I was at a party and I was like hanging out with some people that I didn't know that well. And my sister, who's she's older than me. My older sister called me and she's like, Fisa, they killed Fu. And I was like, what? And then I started crying in this party in front of everybody. And then I went in the bathroom and I was crying in the bathroom. And then some people who were at this party, they were like knocking on the door and they're like, oh, what's going on? And blah, blah, blah. They're like, what's happening? And then I just couldn't even listen to them outside. I was just like in the bathroom crying. Yeah.
Now, that Thanksgiving, conversation, presence, things of that nature as you described, how close to that death did that take place?
Honestly, I think it was like a couple of months after that. Yeah, it was not even a long time after that. Had to be like a couple of months. Honestly, I think it happened in December, November, December. Yeah, a couple of months after that.
Couple of weeks, it sounds like, after that.
Mm-hmm.
Do you have a favorite memory of him you'd like to share with the audience today?
My favorite memory of my brother? He bought me my first car. So that's a really good memory.
Do you remember what car? Do you remember what age this was in your life?
Yes. I was 18 and I was going to college and he bought me my first car. What else? He was really excited to buy it. I remember that. And all of my siblings, they were supposed to come together to get me this car. And I remember him being mad at them because they didn't do it. He was like, oh, fuck it, I'll just get the car. And he bought me the car.
Remember what kind of car?
Yes, it was a white Chevy Malibu.
Now, what's the best advice you received from your brother, or most important thing you learned being around him?
I remember he would say, he would be like, don't grow up too fast, little sister. I remember that. I remember him being very street savvy. What else? I think that's pretty much it.
Anything else you want to mention about your brother, or a question you weren't asked people want to know about him?
I don't really know if I want to share anything else. So, yeah.
Now, mentally, has this been something you sought any professional help over?
No.
Why not? Some people do.
I never really thought about going to see anybody about it.
Be that as it may, do you want any professional help over his
I'm trying
passing?
to think, do I really need it? I would see somebody if I felt like it was beneficial, yeah.
Now, how were you able to survive that upbringing in New Jersey? There are some that don't make it.
So I have my siblings. I love my siblings so much. That is my support group. My sisters, I love them to death. I'm so happy that I had my sisters more than anything else.
There are some people who say things like, don't know if I'll make it to see the age of 18. 21, for example. Did you have any of these thoughts yourself growing up in New Jersey?
I never felt like I was going to not make it past 18, honestly. I always felt like, I always felt like I had a purpose. I was never heavily involved in like any street things. I kind of saw everything for what was happening, and I was like, I don't want to be involved in this, and I'm going to go the different route. So that's why I got heavily involved into academics and studying and all this stuff, because I'm like, if I can study and I can learn this stuff, I can figure out a way to get out of it. So no, I never really thought like I'm not going to live past any age. I'm like, oh, I'm going to live long and I'm going to get out of this situation.
Be that as it may, knowing what you know now, hypothetically speaking, what would you have said to your younger self back then, if anything?
What would I have said to my younger self? I think I did pretty well. I'm not gonna lie. I think I did pretty good for a younger me. Yeah.
Now, on the opposite end of the spectrum, what was the top point for you during your upbringing? What was your highest point or most positive moment growing up in New Jersey?
My highest point?
Yes. If the most negative, bottom point, lowest point was the passing of your brother, what was the opposite of that for you?
The highest point.
Up into the age of 24 when you left.
The highest point? I kind of want to say graduating from college and being able to complete it in 4 years, because I was just going through so much. Like my dad had got sick and I was like, I don't think I'm going to be able to finish. So I want to say that's like my highest point. And then also I started getting a lot more into modeling and stuff. And then I bought my first, when my brother bought me a car. But then when I became like 21, I think, I bought my first car for myself with my own money. So that was another high point for me too. I was like really excited about that. So graduating and then getting my first car, I bought myself a Benz.
Anything else you want to mention about your upbringing or a question you weren't asked? People want to know about that.
I don't think so.